AI is not going away, and we are getting inundated by more and more and more AI as we go. And as a manager, you might be wondering, how should I be using AI? Or how can I use AI and still be a really effective, trusted, and respected manager? And this is why I'm recording this episode today. Hey, I'm Tash Peterson, Certified People Leadership Coach, helping you to become a leader people actually want to follow. And the reason I'm doing this episode is I interviewed a guest last week, and we ended up talking about AI and the impact that it is having on workplace and the way that it's impacting managers and the way that they show up. And I thought, you know what, it's probably a good time to do an episode on how you can actually use AI in the best way. Now, I'm not an AI expert, and I'm not going to tell you how to use ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot or Claude or whatever else is out there. I'm talking more about what are some of the principles that you need to have in mind around being a manager. I'm talking more about the principles and the ethics and the mindset aspects of using AI as a manager and the impact that it has and some of the things that you need to think about. So that's what I'm talking about. If you want to learn how to be an excellent prompter and how to prompt AI to get the best outcomes, I highly recommend getting some training and support in that. I am definitely not a prompting expert. But as we know that if we want to get the best out of AI, we need to be a great prompter. We need to be able to ask the right questions. But what I really want to focus on is what are the things to think about underneath that or before that, before jumping into using an AI tool or kind of becoming too reliant on using an AI tool. So to start with, I really want to talk about the line with AI. So like with everything, there is always a line. And everything, no matter what, can be helpful in small doses. However, we can very quickly overstep that and use it too much, and then it becomes a hindrance. It's no longer this helpful, supportive thing. The first line with AI that we need to be really, really conscious of is that no matter what tool it is, AI is not a replacement for being a manager. You have a duty, a responsibility in the role that you have to create the best environment for your team to succeed. That is your role. Your responsibility is to make sure that your team can succeed, that they can show up and do their work well, that they are meeting and achieving their goals and their targets, and that they are engaged in the work that they're doing. That is your role as a manager, as a leader, as someone people want to work for. That is what you need to be doing. We can't expect or anticipate or hope that by using AI, it's replacing my fundamental jobs of being a manager and a leader. We want to make sure that however we're using AI, it enables us to do more of those things as a manager, that it enables us to give more to our team, to pay more attention to them, to support them better, to create better conditions for them to succeed. We want to use AI to enhance the way that we show up as a manager, not to replace what we're doing as a manager. So that is the first thing. We want to use it to make managing simpler. Effectively, we do want to make managing easier as we go, but it is not about stripping away the humanity. And often the humanity is the challenging part. Often the humanity is the part that we don't want to do. We want to hide away from, we want to shy away from. But ultimately, those are the parts that we need to hold on to the most. Because let's face it, AI is stripping more and more of that away, and we need to actually hold on to it tighter. The other line with AI is that ultimately people want to be connected to humans. And we're seeing this happen already, like on social media, companies who are overusing AI content, overusing AI materials, their customers are calling it out. They don't want it. They want the imperfect. They want the messy. They want the authentic. They want the human. They want more of that. And this is what happens with any advancement in technology. The excitement's there, the possibility, the options of what it can give us. We dive into it, we go head first, and then we realize, wait, it's actually meaning that I'm getting less of this thing that I really value, which is human connection, right? That is ultimately what we value as humans. We want to be more connected. And even social media over the years has been creating more and more disconnection because we're not spending that time with other people. We're spending it in our phones. And Simon Sinek, one of the greatest thinkers in the leadership space, talked about this on an episode with Stephen Bartlett on Diary of a CEO, is that AI can either be used to make us more human or it can strip away our humanity altogether. It really is in the way that we show up, in the way that we use it. And we need to be really conscious of how are we utilizing these advancements? Are we enabling it to make us better, or is it making us worse? So that's the line with AI that we just need to be really conscious of and really think about. And now I want to talk about some of the wrong ways to use AI, in my personal opinion. Because as usual, everything has a helpful, supportive way to use it, and then everything has an unhelpful, harmful way to use it. And here are some things, in my opinion, that I have seen over the last year or so that I just absolutely don't agree with. And I think we need to be very, very cautious about going too far down this. Number one is overusing it in our organizational practices. So there has been a lot of scrutiny in companies using AI to complete all of their recruitment processes, to the point where people are getting interviewed by AI bots or AI agents, and they don't even know. It's only halfway through the interviews that people are actually realizing that they're not talking to a real person. And there was a huge outrage about this because people are investing their time in showing up for interviews, preparing for interviews, and then companies don't even give their time back. They don't even have managers who are running interviews anymore. They don't even have recruitment teams reaching out to people. It's full AI bots and agents running their full recruitment process. And I have a real problem with this, because if you want people to show up for your business and do work and do great work, you need to show up for them. You're expecting them to give hours of their time for free in interviews to be selected to work for your company, but you can't give hours of your time back as part of that process. That when I first heard about this, I was so shocked. I thought that this was disgusting. Over the years, of course, there have been video interviews and video screening, where people submit videos as part of the recruitment process, but someone is still assessing that, right? And then they get to a interview and they're actually still meeting with a person, whether it's on Zoom or in person. This is taking it one step too far, where we are relying on technology to replace a very human part of our process. And organizations can argue till the cows come home about AI removes bias and humans have bias. Excuse me, AI is built by humans. AI is inherently programmed by a human that has bias. And there have been studies shown that AI is also inherently biased because of the way that it is programmed, because of the way that it pulls information from the internet that inherently is biased from whoever created it. The argument that bringing this in removes bias and prejudice and judgment, that is not good enough. Because again, people are showing up, investing their time, their effort into these processes, and that is not being reflected back. There was even another story on LinkedIn of this AI company who they were using an AI agent to run the interview, and the AI agent, as part of the interview, was recording them, and they were watching this person. They could tell that they were copying and pasting the questions into another screen, quote unquote, their assumption being AI, and then having AI answer the question, and then they would paste it back into the interview conversation with this AI bot. And it had a huge uproar on LinkedIn of the CEO of this AI company getting attacked, pretty much, of saying, how can you expect anything less when you were literally using an AI bot to run the whole interview? What makes that different to the candidate also using AI to answer the questions? And this is the part where we need to be really careful of how much are we using it and for what purpose. Just because we can use it for something doesn't mean that we should. And we need to have some discretion. We need to have some intentionality about what we're trying to do here. So number one, be really conscious about where this is taking over things for you. So the wrong way to use AI, in my personal opinion, is replacing interviews, because absolutely not. Absolutely not. What does that say about your company? What does it say about who you are? What does it say about your hiring managers? What does it say about how you value people? To me, it doesn't say much, to be honest. Another wrong way to use AI is to take any emotions or humanness out of communications. It's one thing to ask AI how best to phrase something to help you start off a communication piece. I get it. I do that too. However, if you are using AI to strip out any emotions, any humanity, you're trying to make things too black and white, you're trying to make things too cut and dry, over time, that is going to have a big impact on how people trust and respect you. Because yes, we want clear communication. Absolutely. We want clarity. We want to understand well what people are saying. We want to understand intention. That doesn't mean I want you to be a robot. That doesn't mean I want my manager to have no sense of humanity and personality and authenticity in the way that they're showing up and talking to me and communicating with me, whether it's via email, Slack messages, even just verbal communication. Do not use AI to strip out who you are. Do not use AI to strip out your humanity, your emotions, what makes you you. Because otherwise, what's the point? Be someone else. People want to work with you because of who you are. And you don't want to strip that out by using AI. So those are some of my two big ones of how I don't recommend using AI. But then what do I do recommend using AI for? Again, I'm not telling you how to use AI or how to prompt or how to get the best outcomes. I have another episode with Annie Johnson that you can listen to about how you can use AI without losing your humanity. And I'm sure that there are so many helpful articles and courses now on how to become a great prompter. But again, I'm talking about from an ethical mindset perspective, how can we use AI in the best way? My first one would be use it to challenge your thinking on a situation. By giving it useful context, so by sharing the information without identifying information, so you don't have to give the depths of someone that you're talking about, but by giving it useful context and what the outcome that you're looking for, it can help you to challenge your thinking, asking it to give you questions, asking it to give you different things that you maybe haven't thought about can be a really good way to help you challenge your thinking on a situation, especially a challenging situation, especially a situation where maybe you don't want to deal with it, maybe you're trying to avoid it, or maybe you have a tendency to deal with it in a really unhelpful way. You can use AI to challenge your own thinking. And by giving it appropriate context, so for an example, say you have a situation coming up with one of your team members. They seem to be not performing how they normally are. So they seem to be quote unquote slacking off. They're coming in a little bit later. They aren't meeting deadlines on time. They're not as engaged in meetings. But this has only shifted in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Whereas before that, they were always on time. They were really engaged. They always handed things in early. They were always ahead of time. They were always managing their workload really well. If you give AI all of that context and then go, okay, can you give me 3 ways that I can best approach this? Or can you challenge me with 3 questions of things that I need to think more about or that I need to consider? Then that can be a really good thought partnership that you can have with that AI chat, because by giving it that context of what is the current situation, but then also what is the previous context, it can then help to go, okay, these are all the things that I recommend you think about. These are all the things that would be really useful for you to talk about or consider. And then you can ask, how do I best approach this conversation? I want to have this conversation over Zoom or in person. I want to make sure that it can be as a productive conversation as possible. And I want to make sure that I bring compassion to it and then let it help you. I give you all of these frameworks and all of these tools in my VIP Leaders program on how to have difficult conversations, how to set expectations, how to give direct feedback. I have thought about creating some AI bots with these frameworks in place, but I haven't quite got in there yet. But that is a really great way to use AI. It's not tell me what to do. It's here is the context. Here is what I'm thinking. Here is what I'm nervous about. Here is what I'm thinking about doing. I really want some insight. I want you to challenge me. I want you to really push me to make sure that I'm thinking about all of the things that I need to be thinking about to be able to have a really good conversation with my team member, to be able to increase the chance that I have a really good outcome with them. Doesn't mean that you're going to have a great outcome. However, it can help you increase the chances of having that great outcome. That is one of the best ways that I recommend using AI, is helping it to challenge the way that you think and the way that you do things, not to replace the way that you think, not to replace the way that you do things, but using it as an additional challenger to the way that you show up. That is a really great way to do it. And from what I understand with OpenAI, they've released ChatGPT 5, and it has removed all of the fluffy, cheerleading, happy-go-lucky AI friend, AI bot that you've become used to. And it's now replaced it with a very to the point, direct, tell it as it is AI agent. So you're not getting fluffed up through all of these responses, but ChatGPT 5 is actually giving you what you need and giving you exactly what you're asking for. So again, it is really important to be a good prompter, to be a good question asker. And as always, don't believe everything AI tells you. Again, it's just learning based on everything that's out there. You still need to use your own critical thinking. You still need to use your own brain and make sure that what you're thinking and considering is really aligned to who you want to be, to your values, and to what's really important to you. And this is where knowing who you want to be as a leader is really critical. So having a really strong identity in the way that you want to show up and the way that you want to be seen is really important as well. So that is the first way that I recommend using AI. The second way that I recommend using AI is use it to take over some of the minimal admin tasks. So what are things that are just very menial that are on your plate, but you can't quite delegate it to someone else in your team? Could AI help with that? Could AI help you plan out your calendar for the week? So I've got a success planning method that I teach in my program, and one of the participants in my program actually inputted her whole success plan into her AI conversation and asked it to plan it out into her calendar. Where are the best things? Where are the best places for things to go? How much time do you recommend that I spend on this and this? That's a really great way to use it to, again, help you to think about things maybe that you wouldn't have thought about before, or just help to think about things a little differently than you might have thought about before. That's a really good way to use it as well, because what it does is it helps to give you more space. It helps you to have more space to do your higher level work, to do the work that actually moves the needle, like setting the team's strategy or reviewing the team's strategy, reviewing the team's goals, making sure that people are on track, making sure that you're on track for the quarter or the year, having time to have your one-on-ones with your team members. One of the things that I hear often is, I don't have time to have one-on-ones with my team because I've got so much stuff to do. Okay, could AI help with some of that? Are there some things that AI could do or could process or help you to delegate that could give you that space and time to be able to do these things that actually really matter? Like having one-on-ones, working on team goals, setting the team strategy, working on brainstorming and having more time to actually discuss and collaborate with your team rather than you sitting behind a desk and working on things that actually shouldn't be on your plate. Another way actually that you could use it is ask AI to help you delegate. Now, I do have a masterclass coming out on this, so you will be able to purchase that if you haven't joined VIP Leaders. VIP Leaders get free access to this masterclass. But if you haven't joined, you can buy this masterclass around delegating. So if you've got a whole lot of stuff that you're not really sure how to delegate, ask AI to help you. I have these things that I need to delegate to these team members. The reason I'm choosing these team members is because of this and this. What are some of the things that I need to consider in order to delegate this really well and for them to get what they need? It can probably help you do that exceptionally well. That is another great way to use it. Again, how can you utilize this technology that we've been given to give yourself back more time to be more human? That is ultimately what we want to be using AI for as a manager. But how can we leverage this technology? How can we leverage this thing that's being built and that's being made available to us to be more human, to be better for our teams, to give more to our teams, not to take away our humanity, not to do less, but how can we transfer things to that so that we can show up in the best ways for our teams? Because ultimately that is our responsibility. Remember from the start of this episode, your responsibility is to create an environment where your team can succeed. Create an environment where your team feel valued, appreciated, seen, heard, and understood so that they can deliver their best work. That is your responsibility. That is your job. by having the privilege of leading people. So there we go. I don't know how to teach you everything to do with AI, but I really want to make sure that you're thinking about the way that you're using AI in the best way. I use AI all the time. I use it to challenge my thinking. When I have a new idea, I'm like, this is my idea. This is why why it would be successful. This is the problem I think it would solve. What am I missing? What are some questions that you think I still need to answer? And then I get it to challenge me in that way, not to replace what I'm doing. I'm going to leave this here. I want to know, what did you take away from this episode? Did this help to answer some of your questions, or did it actually create more questions that you want to ask? And if you do have more questions, send them my way. Email me, message me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and let me know, because if there are bigger questions that you want to know more about, that you want answers to, I can get guests in that can help answer those questions. So if you have them, let me know so that I can keep creating content that helps you. All right, I'll leave this here. And as I mentioned, if you do want to grab the Doing to Delegating Masterclass, message me and I will send you the link when it becomes available. All right, have a really great week, and I'll be back in your ears again next week. Hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to Lead with Less. It means the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple, or just rate with 5 stars on Spotify. It means a lot to the growth and the expansion of the podcast. And if you know any other people leaders who could do with a dose of inspiration to level up their leadership skills, then please forward on this podcast to them. I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback or have any thoughts, please message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email. I'd love to hear from you.